Hello everyone, welcome back to the GeoGuessr Explained channel, and welcome back, of course, to the GeoGuessr Explained. You already know. We're doing a no moving and an MPZ seed, and today I will try to explain the very best I can why I'm going to guess where I'm going to guess. You guys leave your comments down, play along in the description, of course, so you can learn from your mistakes. Okay, first round here. Immediately thinking of Europe. Let me just close my tabs in the background here. So immediately thinking of Europe here, again, as I've been saying, like, I'll try not to reveal everything immediately, but yeah, this type of thin road with these kind of buildings should be very indicative of Europe. Any kind of thin asphalt road where you don't see any road markings at all is a pretty good indication for Europe, especially, if it's as thin as this. Yeah, so I'm noticing wooden poles here as well. Quite a cold climate. We've got birch trees, we've got pine trees. Yeah. A-frame poles like this would almost never be North America, so pretty much should make you think mostly of Europe and the post-Soviet Union. Definitely something that they like to do there more than anywhere else. Maybe like Sri Lanka likes them a lot as well, but yeah, mostly would be thinking of like Europe. A lot of white and yellow painted buildings here, so we don't have any of that exposed brick that you get in some places in Europe. Maybe further down south we have a lot of tiled roofs. A lot of them seem like slate, or yeah, whatever this stuff is. So yeah, it's not going to be too far south. Obviously with the trees as well. I mean, birches can crop up in places like Bulgaria that have a lot of mountains, but it's less likely for sure. Okay, so whereabouts then? We also have this striped pole, which is very fascinating. I associate that with a few countries, but I don't think it's any of the ones I was initially thinking. Okay, so yeah, these are snow poles. I mean, you can see all kinds of variants of snow poles around Europe. I mean, particularly Turkey loves their snow poles, but yeah, okay. So this, I would say in the background is Germanic architecture. This kind of roof with like the triangle section is very Germanic. And that's going to be clue number one. Clue number two, we do have the front of the Google car here. So normally in Europe, you can see the back tab of the Google car, but in some countries, you can see a little bit of the front, and it's to do with what the model of the Google car is. Now, when you can see a smudge of blue at the front, you'll see that very commonly in Belgium, Austria, and Slovenia. That's the three countries where you easily see that the most, but it's possible pretty much everywhere. So just good to keep in mind. And that would definitely, with this architecture, we don't have any brick architecture, leaning me towards Austria, Slovenia here. At this point, it'd be useful to read this sign. I think it's actually not legible. So we're going to have to actually lock in a bit here. I mean, here's the problem. It's not clear to me which one of Austria or Slovenia this would be. And I'm almost worried a bit about Czechia still, because Czechia does like random striped signposts, so, or random striped like snowpole-esque kind of things, so still thinking here. These pole markings don't mean anything to me. Low-key a difficult round, actually. Maybe I'm just making it more complicated than it needs to be. It's probably just Austria, all in all. But I can't remember what Austrian snowpoles look like. That's kind of a skill issue. Yeah, the yellow buildings in the background, they probably don't feel too Slovenian. They also don't feel too Alps. So if it is Austria, probably a bit further north. I mean, it's 2025 coverage in theory, and that's why it's so wintry, I guess. But I'm not sure if which countries have actually started to get 2025, so not really that useful. Yeah, I'm thinking Austria here. That's my ultimate thought. Oops. And it was Austria, just on the Slovenian and Hungarian border. That's why it kind of had the Eastern Europe vibe. Not very Alpine as well. Like, obviously, we talked about Alps architecture in yesterday's episode, so you can go back and look at that if you're confused what that means. But, yeah, not a terrible guess, I guess. Next one here, immediately, dirt road in the middle of nowhere. We got pine trees here. In the background, I see eucalyptus trees planted for timber. We can see the brake light of the car here, but it's not like the kind of yellow, it's not like the blue back tab that you see at the back of European cars. This is like a red one, which, yeah, a variant of it is possible in a few cars which have red car, like countries that have red car, like Sweden, Lithuania, Slovakia, but this is not that. Also, the soil is too dark here, I would say, for most places in Europe, like we talked about in the first episode. We've got a shaggy palm here, like we saw yesterday, and it looks like we've got a Paraná pine. So that, if you haven't figured it out, is from the state of Paraná and that surrounding area in Brazil. So I'm thinking this is Brazil. Eucalyptus plantations are very common in Brazil. Pine plantations are very common in the south of Brazil. And this shaggy palm, as we said, is common in the central part of Brazil. So all that combined, especially with the Paraná pine as well, I would think of the state of Paraná here. Google Car's not really helping me here. Probably just going to be one of these three here, though. So I'd probably go towards Curitiba here. Anything else to say here? I mean, obviously you can check the sun. Sun is definitely solidly north here, so southern hemisphere. And obviously the dirt color also leans towards Brazil. Like, how could I differentiate this was not Brazil if there was no of these two species here? Then it would be harder. Then I could think of maybe Chile or something. But I would say when you're working with, I mean, this is like such a Brazilian round. The eucalypts, the pines, the palm, and the Paraná pine. It's all adding up. It all adds up very nicely. And yeah, it ends up being Paraná there. Next one here, we got white Google car. This is the front of the car. We can tell there's no brake light or anything. There's no back tab. So it's just like a solid kind of bonnet, hood kind of color. So yeah, that's going to be the front of the car. By that, we can work out that we're driving left-hand side of the road here. We got red soil. And we can see signs set up for left-hand drive. So the car's going to come this way. Going to see those left-hand drive signs. And more crucially to the round, we have a lot of eucalyptus trees here. They kind of have dark bark, olive green, leaf color, small leaves, this kind of canopy. If you see this kind of canopy anywhere in the world, you can be pretty sure it's eucalyptus. They have a very unique, tall and reaching kind of canopy, which I think is very easy to recognize once you have seen it a few times. Okay, so that means we're going to be in Australia. Obviously, so many eucalyptus. If you see any like this many eucalyptus that aren't being planted for timber, then you could be sure it's Australia. And yeah, the white car is also very common in Australia. Australia has all kinds of Google cars colors, but yeah, white car is one of the common ones. Crucially here, though, white car is not possible in Western Australia in Generation 4. So this front part is not possible for Generation 4 Western Australia. So going to be dealing with like everything on the East Coast, like I talked about last time we had in Australia. And yeah, these like kind of eucalypts that are low to the ground, I would definitely associate with South Australia over anything else here. The way they kind of grow, I mean, it's very Western Australian as well, which is why I mentioned the car here. But the way they're kind of growing out of the ground like this is, without like one big trunk, is very South Australia, Western Australia, maybe towards Mildura as well. Yeah, okay, so where then? And then also we got flat signposts here. They're not round, but kind of more of a rectangular prism. Hard to make out here, but yeah, I'm pretty certain this is South Australia, so that does make sense. Whereabouts? It's pretty hilly. It could be the Eyre Peninsula, it could be the York Peninsula, or it could just be out east of Adelaide. That's kind of the three regions I would consider here, where it's so dry, but also got some fields for agriculture as well. What actually is it, though? I don't know, I feel like all three of them are definitely possible. The York Peninsula is pretty agricultural, like more than this, so that would probably be the least likely. I'm kind of actually between here and here. And I also feel like it might be a bit more rocky, typically, on the Eyre Peninsula, but yeah, I can definitely see the Eyre Peninsula here, especially with this darker soil, because this part of South Australia normally has a paler soil, so pretty conflicted here, guys, can't lie. I'm still kind of thinking of over here, but maybe it would be too flat here. I don't know, guys. I think I will actually go Eyre Peninsula here. And it was Eyre Peninsula. Very nice. Yeah, just slight being leaned this way by the level of red soil. Yeah. Okay, round 4. So again, front of the car. This time we can see a bit of the unblurred part, but it's the exact same car that we had last time. Sun to the north, so southern hemisphere. Driving left. Very wide road. And we have this bollard with the red rectangle. This one you see in Australia, Turkey, Romania, Netherlands, I suppose, and occasionally elsewhere. But yeah, with left-hand drive, we're going to be in Australia. And we have this time a similar vibe, similar soil color, but this time the trees are much more growing on one or two like trunks. And on this side of the road, we see much more like almost coniferous, or definitely a different leaf shape and color. which I would associate more with New South Wales, Queensland, rather than South Australia. So whereabouts? Check the year 2024, so it's fairly new coverage here. And yeah, this one, I mean, I'm pretty certain it's one of these two, but I'm not sure where. So it makes it difficult. But again, it's very nice to know that at least we can't be Western Australia, which often Western Australia will have this soil color quite a lot, but we know it's not there because of the hand of Yuguka here, the white one, the pure white one. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's maybe northern New South Wales here. Let's check out the angle of the road here. It's pretty north. Yeah. I don't know. The termite hills and stuff can be both states, I think. The way some of these trees look, leaning me a bit more New South Wales. I'll go for that. And it was actually Queensland, yeah. I mean, I'm just really bad at this area of Australia. Easily my weakest part of the country, but also probably the hardest as well. Okay, next one here. So driving right. Yellow center lines here, which is interesting. Maybe wouldn't have expected those. Definitely the clothing people are wearing here is useful. I can see some people wearing some pretty traditional long flowing clothes. I just spied a flag, but let's ignore the flag for now. We can also see, if we go to reset, we can also see that we had in view a very distinct curvy blur here, which would immediately make me think we're in like a big blur truck kind of coverage on NMPZ. So I would immediately be considering those countries like UAE, Qatar, Oman, rather than Israel, Jordan, which have normal Google car. Okay, over here. White number plates on all the vehicles, so not going to be Oman where they have yellow ones. So basically between UAE and Qatar. Copyright's 2023, which is common in both countries. If it was 2024, you would probably lean away from Qatar because they released most of the stuff in 2023. And over here we have the UAE flag. So unless it's a Palestinian flag randomly flying. No, we have two of them. I'm going to say it's a UAE flag for sure. Yeah, so that's going to be easy enough. And using a lot of yellow lines, like yellow center lines like this, would be more UAE than Qatar anyway. Qatar tends to use, like, they're both kind of random in terms of road lines, but Qatar definitely likes white road lines more than yellow ones. And there we go, was Dubai. Okay, well, fairly easy seed there. Minus round 4, I would say. And let's head through back into the next game for NMPZ and see how we can play, shall we? I would say so. Okay. That's also pasted inside the description. Let's go NMPZ, the best game mode, of course. And we start off with a fairly difficult one. So overground pipes immediately remind me of ex-Soviet Union. You can see it in Europe as well, but just less likely. We also see a Dacia here, maybe. But crucially, there's no blue strip on the plate. That is going to be a pure white plate here. The blue strip would normally be on the left. So that's leaning us towards Ukraine, Russia, something like that. It's Generation 3 camera, so it can't be Kazakhstan. And yeah, we're basically between Ukraine and Russia at this stage. There's really nothing else that's an option. I mean, obviously, other countries will have no blue strip sometimes. But when you combine it with the pipe, I would say that is enough to say we're certainly in either Ukraine or Russia. Okay. Beyond the pipes are definitely more common south of Moscow, for sure. So that's also, and quite common down in the deep south. So that's also useful here. We have no antenna meta or anything. We can see the driver here is on the left-hand side of the car, which means we're more likely in Western Russia. In Eastern Russia, you will see the driver on the wrong side quite a lot. Yeah, it is hard to say beyond that where this is. This kind of like barn architecture I would associate more with the south, but yeah, it can really be anywhere in my opinion. We don't see any birch trees, strictly speaking. Those could be birches in the background. I would hate this round. To be honest, if I was in a tournament, I would be dreading this because it definitely has a Volga vibe to me. Like a Volga river, which is this river. But it can really be between Kazan and Krasnodar, in my opinion. That's like, I definitely think it's west, but I'm not sure where in the west. I suppose I might just hedge Saratov here, but I did get more of a south vibe initially. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try Saratov here. And it was actually, yeah, that's why I go north here, because there's just more going on up north, so it's a bit safer. And it's actually in Michurinsk there, which is, I would say, pretty difficult round there, but good job if you got it. At least the region. Okay, next one here is challenging. So we're on a pretty wide dirt road. We've got a pine here and a pine here. A few pines mixed in to the mix, for sure. And maybe some oaks. Not really sure what's going on. Big help here is checking the sun. So using the classic compass, we can see the sun is definitely up to our south, casting the shadows to the north. So definitely going to be south sun, which means northern hemisphere. So that's going to be very useful. We can discount like Chile, Argentina, South Africa, possible options that could have been guessed here. Driving side, we cannot tell because there's no Google car. You can often make it out by if there's like dust being kicked up behind, but we don't see that, so I wouldn't really infer too much from the fact that we don't see it, but yeah, we don't, unfortunately. Very pale soil here, so that could be something you see often in the US, Canada, Europe. It's really not too helpful for us here, I would say. And yeah, beyond that, we're starting to come to the end of things here, so I don't know. What are the options in my mind? I think US is the main option here for me. But only certain places in the US really makes sense, yeah? Climate's too cold for Mexico, too warm for Canada, I would say, though. So in North America, I'd only really consider US, maybe like Arkansas, Missouri, something like that. In Europe, which I think is a bit less likely just simply because of how wide this road is, but we'd be considering Turkey, Italy, places with like fairly white soil, and this kind of vegetation, maybe Bulgaria, Romania. They're the possibilities. I think I would go US here, though. That's a difficult round. I could even see Canada, actually. I think definitely not Mexico, but yeah, perhaps even Canada. I just prefer a Missouri here, but yeah, unsure, to be honest. And it was actually Maryland there, so yeah, I think that's enough in a duel to at least make you survive, but definitely a difficult round. I don't know, Missouri, is it that good of a guess? Over here, I'd expect maybe a bit of a different vegetation vibe, but anything in the Appalachians, there's a high variety of trees, so you gotta expect anything to some extent. Okay, next one here. We have Straßenschäden, so road damage in German. They don't use the Scharf S here, which is this bee-looking thing in Switzerland, so we know we're not there. It's going to be Germany, Austria. And then we have the bollards here. The black-topped bollards would be Austria, so the white-topped bollards are going to be Germany. And what about Luxembourg? Well, we can actually see through if we... Okay, so we can see that we see a reflector on the right side here. What we can actually do is like come over here, make the entire map blue, and then we can see the reflector pretty well. And we can see it only has 2 pins on it. So the way I remember it is Luxembourg has 3 pins, Germany has 2. Luxembourg is 3 syllables, whereas Deutschland is 2 syllables. So you got to say it in their native languages, and then you come out with the correct answer. So 2 syllables equals Germany. This is not going to be Luxembourg, although it kind of looks a little bit like it. And then, yeah, with this kind of pleasant rolling landscape, I tend to, like, guess a little bit further west here, maybe above Frankfurt, something like that. Would make a bit of sense to me, I think. So I'm just going to go for it. And yeah, it was above Kassel there. Not the best guess, but, you know, at least a decent regional guess, I would say, in Germany. And yeah, that's how you get that round. Pretty straightforward round, I would say. Next round here, we got the tent on the front of the car, so that's just Mongolia, making it nice and easy for us. If you can see most of the bar at the front of the car, that definitely leans west of the country. And we do see a huge lake here, which is also something you see more in the east of the country as well. So maybe thinking of this one. I'm just going to like zoom into a couple of these lakes where there is coverage and see if any of them make sense. I know that... Just trying to think. We do have mountains to our east, so it's kind of unique as lake standards go. Maybe we're actually up towards Hutgal. No, I don't think so. I think Hutgal doesn't have the bar at the front of the car. Dan, I'm not really sure here, guys. But it definitely seems like we're, like, looking out east onto a lake, like, pretty well... We pretty well are doing that, I would say, so... And it's quite cold. Could not say I quite understand what's going on here, because I feel like I've checked most of the options. Especially with East Mountains, right? Yeah, something like that. But that's just no, that's just no proper. I'm not seeing what I want to see. Is what I'm trying to say. In terms of lining it up, I'm not the one you can really talk to about lining it up, but it's definitely to our east. That's the problem with that lake there. I mean, maybe something like this could make sense. It's at least possible. That's a big commit, especially because it looks pretty flat. At least kind of north looks pretty flat. Yeah. Booga. Yeah, not seeing it, guys. Okay. Well, I would just hedge west here in this case. I'm just going to try this lake anyway. And it was this lake. What? The hills. The hills are way further than I thought. But it does make sense, actually. Very 5Kable if you're any good at Mongolia, but I guess getting west is at least good. Next one here. This is hard, for sure. Poor road quality, leaning towards Europe. As it would happen, like, poor road quality is just pretty common in some of the poorer countries in Europe in general, compared to the rest of the places on GeoGuessr, for example, compared to North America, Australia, even South America. I don't know, like this, you could definitely see this in South America. Okay, let's just break it down, like, very basically here. So, sun is definitely southern. I would say that's fair to say. Like, we can see that these shadows being cast more so to the north here. So we're going to be in the northern hemisphere, therefore. Trees, fairly cold climate, but nothing crazy. Kind of middle climate, I would say, similar to the US we had before. We have a sign set up for right-hand drive in the distance, which you can probably see if you were playing. And it's filled in yellow. Filled in yellow is pretty useful for certain countries. Sweden, Finland, Poland, North Mass, Greece. These are countries where you often see a filled in yellow sign, but it's possible everywhere because every other country will at least do that for roadworks. And what I'm thinking here is that we have deep summer coverage in Gen 3 on a fairly main road. It's a fairly wide road, so you could assume this is a main road, even though it's fairly poorly kept. So I'm assuming this is North Macedonia. Almost all the coverage in North Macedonia is summer, for the most part. And we got the yellow filled in sign, which makes perfect sense. And this is just one I have a vibe for. It's a hard European round, but I'm relatively certain it's here. And yeah, it was. Nice. And there we go. We got 10 out of 10 countries. Still yet to miss a country on this, I think. Even despite my poor Roraima guess yesterday. Well, this was a fairly difficult seed, I would say. The Russia and the US both pose significant challenges, not to mention the North Mass. Let me know how you went. I'm keen to know. And I guess I would say thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and goodbye.